400 would best suit them. And I don't know if Superintendent Greer might be able to add to that because she knows those neighborhoods quite well.
Yes, 4 of the 5 schools in the East Welland Review are our highest LICO scores, and so that is a real issue for all of the community members.
Thank you. Follow-up, Trustee Hyde?
Just further to that, do we have any research or data in other communities, let's say in Toronto or Mississauga or larger areas where, in fact, we know their schools are much larger and probably they present the same LICO kind of... I'm just curious when I look at it, and I guess, and I have no trouble with these recommendations, I'm just thinking that sometimes more does get more. In fact, that you have more support, you've got more EAs, you have more volunteers everywhere to do things. And so for 500 students, in fact, although the needs are all there, they can get more. I mean, there is a drop-off number, but I'm curious how that affects, because it exists in larger areas, absolutely. And I just wondered if we have any data on what that looks like when it's a higher number.
Thank you. I'm going to call on the director to respond to that.
Yes, I'll leave it to the superintendent to talk specifically about that area. The research that Ken has been cited around larger schools is a very homogeneous, advantaged neighborhood, could handle schools of 800, 900 he's talking about. So when you get into a situation where you want to advantage your kids, his research has looked at it at 350, 400 is around the right area. But specifically, I'll let the...
Trustee Mays, and then Trustee Attorney.
I was reading, I believe it was in Thames Valley when they did their accommodation review. They were looking to size all their schools between 350 and 400 because that was found to be the optimum funding model, the most resources available, full principal, VP, and every advantage that they could get through the ministry. So I believe that was the number that I read anyways, and that seemed to be a number that was workable, not too big, not too large, but also provided for optimum educational opportunities for the students. So I think that's important to bear in mind. And I don't know where I read that, but it was somewhere in the last couple of months anyways.
Thank you. Trustee Tamnick.
There was a study done in Regina, a school board that covers the whole area, I believe, and it considered many factors, and it came up with certain school sizes as being the optimum. It did not say how these factors were weighted, and one of the major factors being considered was the amount of funding available, not student achievement. And it didn't say which one of these factors had greater weighting than another. And those recommendations came out of that report, and we've all gotten that a few months ago. Well, I just came back from the National School Boards Association conference in Chicago. That's why I was late here tonight. And I was at an interesting seminar. Trustee Don Love was in the same seminar. And they went through a number of problems on governance and other related happenings in school boards that trustees ran into. And the big solution that was new this year was presented on the screen, and I commented it to Trustee Love on it. And that was that trustees have to become more active electronically and go to their computers and find information independently of studies done. And the Regina report, a major statement made in there, was that the results of research in Canada as far as elementary and secondary schools are concerned would be just as valid if applied in the United States and research in the United States and Canada. The border didn't make a difference in what those results would say to us. And so there's all kinds of research in the United States that you can access easy enough. By Googling things on your computer, get your own independent information. Don't rely on hearsay or only only reports that are funded by groups who are campaigning for a particular view, be it parent, political, financial interest, business and industry, and think in terms of the welfare of the student, and I think we'll have better outcomes. All outcomes can be improved to some extent, even if they're good projected outcomes. Now we can make them better. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Lemon.
Thank you, Chair Fulford. In light of the completion, the Niagara Falls report and the Welland reports, this has put the trustees of the District School Board of Niagara in a position to adopt either the ARC committee report or the senior staff report. However, considering how trustees handled the task of voting towards the Niagara Lake review, trustees may or may not adopt either report and move in a different direction. No matter what assurances citizens receive between now and June 22, the truth will only be known as trustees vote on the circumstances surrounding the ARC review in Welland, Niagara Falls. Thank you, Chair Fulford.
Thank you. Of course, in the policy of the accommodation review, the board has the ability to make decisions that are other than in the accommodation review. But since we are just receiving the report, I think it's a little preemptive to suggest that we will be doing that. And we'll be having those discussions when the report comes back to us to vote on after 60 days. We'll move on in the agenda.